What's popping, everyone? Bailey Strasser here, and tomorrow is draft day. We are almost 24 hours. We're 24 hours away from the Tennessee Titans being on the clock. Crazy enough said, but we're here. 32 teams, 32 picks in the first round, unless people trade it or trade up. You never know. But this is like the first time I feel like we've actually had a draft where it's like every team has one pick in the first round. I mean, it just feels weird, but again, I'm going to go over obviously who my picks are, and I'll be quick with it because I don't want to waste anybody's time. First off, if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts. Let's get down to business. The obvious Tennessee Titans are drafting Cam Ward. It's quite obvious they're going to go with the quarterback who's rated the best right now. It's quite obvious. Cleveland Browns. Travis Hunter. Adam Schefter said they were drafting him, so I'm just going to stick with that. You got to have the best player. That's important. Next up, New York Giants. Abdul Carter. Best player, I think, edge rusher. Penn State, he's a dog. He's an athlete. You want to rebuild. They're still rebuilding Giants. You got to be put in that position. Great pick. New England Patriots, Will Campbell, tackle of LSU. I love it. I love the pick. They need a tackle to obviously protect Drake May. It's a make sense pick. Jacksonville Jaguars, going for the best defensive player, Mason Graham out of Michigan. It makes a lot of sense for the Jaguars to go with that. I think the Las Vegas Raiders make the big shock and go with Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. Big name running back, and the runner-up of the Heisman Trophy. Very important. New York Jets, Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. He is the best receiver out of anybody, both wide receivers and tight ends combined. He is the best offensive playmaker that's going to come out of this draft. Jets are getting a real big-time player if they go with him. Carolina Panthers, Jalen Walker, the edge out of Georgia. He is a great edge rusher. I think this would be a fantastic pick. The New Orleans Saints, I think, are going to go with Shader Sanders. I'm very interested to see how he turns out, but again, a lot to be determined. Chicago Bears going with Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle out of Texas. I think they need a tackle to protect Caleb Williams. Their line was their biggest problem. They already addressed with 3 different people. I think a big tackle would definitely help them. San Francisco 49ers, Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. They need an edge rusher to complement Nick Bosa. Makes a lot of sense. Dallas Cowboys, I think they need a number 2 wide receiver behind CeeDee Lamb. Matthew Golden, a slot receiver or a deep threat type guy to replace Brandon Cooks would make a whole lot of sense for the Cowboys. Well, Miami Dolphins lost Jalen Ramsey. They need Will Johnson. It would make a lot of sense. Colts, they need a tight end. Colston Loveland is the best guy available. It would make a lot of sense. Atlanta Falcons, since they always make terrible picks, Shamar Stewart, who is obviously already going to say is a bust, that would make a lot of sense because the Falcons are idiotic and stupid. The Arizona Cardinals, Michael Williams, I think it's a smart pick for them to go with a great player to start rebuild their defense. Cincinnati Bengals obviously need to rebuild their offensive line. Armand Membo, the tackle out of Missouri, makes a lot of sense. Seattle Seahawks, Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. I think they need definitely a number 2 wide receiver for their future. They got Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba, but they need a tall guy to replace DK Metcalf. It makes a lot of sense. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jahad Campbell the linebacker out of Alabama. He is a middle linebacker. Levante David is almost to the point where he's going to retire, so it would make sense to get his replacement. Denver Broncos, Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. Their weakest position was running back. I think it would be a great pick for the Broncos. Pittsburgh Steelers at 21, I think are going to go with Jackson Dart, the quarterback out of Ole Miss. They don't even have a quarterback, so really they have no choice. Los Angeles Chargers, I think losing out, on Keenan Allen is, they need a guy, they need a true number 1 wide receiver in their future. I think Emeka Egbuka would make a big fit for the Chargers. Green Bay Packers, I think will go with an edge rusher. They'll go with Donovan Aziriaku. I think it's a good pick. It would be rematched up with Jeff Hafley. Makes a lot of sense. Vikings need a safety to get, because Harrison Smith is old and needs help. and Malachi Starks would make a lot of sense to eventually take over that position. Houston Texans, I think, need a tackle to protect Stroud because they really struggled to make plays. Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, makes a lot of sense. Los Angeles Lambs, Maxwell Hairston, the cornerback out of Kentucky, think they would need secondary help. Ravens also need secondary help. Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas, makes a lot of sense. Detroit Lions, they need help on the defensive interior. Derek Harmon out of Oregon, makes a lot of sense for them. Washington Commanders, I think, take the steal of the draft, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. I think he's actually going to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's a bold prediction, but I don't know why. Buffalo Bills will always take some guy I never heard of that actually ends up being decent. Siobhan Ravel Jr., a cornerback out of East Carolina, always seems to be the case. Kansas City Chiefs, Donovan Jackson, lineman out of Ohio State. I think they need some interior line help after losing some of those guys that really they lost in free agency. And Philadelphia Eagles always seem to take a person that will definitely help replace one player. And Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman at Ole Miss, makes the most sense. So if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, and we will see you next time.